right back in, but we are live. Okay. There we go. Okay. Give me just a moment. Those of you who are joining us online will be live in just a moment. Or I'll be back in just a moment. Well, I made something for her. And she's hungry. So you want to try one, please? Oh, so yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot I missed, but that's your profession.
What happened?
I just cut workout because it's cut in long term, but there's no money into my system.
It does?
You eat pork on a regular basis.
I didn't know
It
that.
tears it up. Huh. So I cut that all I know. Once you do that, and you go to eat again.
Beef is even worse.
Yeah.
I don't eat beef. I don't eat beef.
Yeah.
Or chicken. Chicken gives me joy.
That's how I feel about pork. Yeah. That's what pork does. I miss all shit.
It's good.
I miss it. That's one of the things. I'm saying that it is.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
I miss vitamins.
It's okay. All right. Happy graduation day.
Can I ask you a question, Miss?
Absolutely.
Do we get a certificate of completion?
You will.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
Well, to me it does.
Yeah.
To me it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So after last class, we had the last chapter to read, which was chapter 10 in your yellow book. And then you took the test on page 190 and graded it. So let me go ahead and get your grades. Marwa? Bobby?
95.
Thank you, Kathy.
100.
Thank you, Taylor.
90.
Thank you. Taylor, do you have 2 through 9 for me? That's okay.
Very behind.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Toya? Jade?
Pass.
Okay. Dylan?
95.
Thank you. Ezekiel?
Pass.
Okay. Do you have 8 and 9 for me? Okay, 188 and 189.
Uh, 185 and 190.
Okay. Thank you. Veronica?
90.
Thank you. Danielle? Antea? Katie? Stacy? Corey?
100.
Corey, do you have, I need 4 from you if you have it.
4, I got 95. I missed one.
Okay, and then I need 7, 8, and 9.
7, I got a 95. 8, I got a 95. And then 9, I got 100.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is the last class. Here in my face here. This is the last class. So do you guys have any questions? Anything that you need me to answer for you? Any explanations on the skills? Knowing what to study for the written? Anything that you want me to go over with you? Yes.
Are you able to come look at this for me?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Would this count? Like for what we have to get from the credit card? It does mention like a photo is required, so and then if it's digital, you have the OI number.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, perfect.
But I can't guarantee that because they're not on the list that Prometric has on their website. So let me address this on camera real quick. So the question is, a lot of the counties do fingerprint services at the sheriff's department. And it's way cheaper to do it there than it is to go somewhere else, and have it done. Prometric has on their website, on Prometric's website, a list of approved fingerprint vendors for the clearinghouse. The clearinghouse is where all medical background checks go to live. It's called the clearinghouse. That way future employers can access it. So you have to have an approved vendor that can communicate with the clearinghouse because everything is electronic and digital. So Prometric issues a list of all the fingerprint places that coordinate with the clearinghouse. The sheriff's departments are not on that list.
Oh,
That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. But I say that because because they're not on the list, I can't say definitively, yes, that will work for you.
But you've seen like some go through.
Well, no, this is the first class because the question came up about Hernando County.
because I'm going there
And-
at 1:00 today.
And I did look at Hernando County and I called them as well. And they said, yes, they do, they do communicate with the clearinghouse. So even though they're not on the list, I'm going by what they tell me. I'm just saying that because if something happens and it doesn't work, I don't want you to come back to me and say, but you said, okay, because I don't know. I don't have 100% confirmation. Now, those of you who are using the sheriff's department, if you reach out to me and let me know for future classes that you had no issues, no problems, then I can pass that information on. Does that make sense? Okay. I can only guarantee the ones that are on the list that Prometric publishes. Okay. Good. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But it should theoretically work. Good morning. Okay. All right, Latasha is testing next month in California, and she asks, I have a question. When you're doing the skill that requires to go wash and dry the basin, will the evaluator cost points against you if you leave the bed up to go do this? No. You can't, if you raise the bed to a comfortable working height for any of the skills, if you raise the bed up to a comfortable working height, you can leave the bed to go clean the basin. That's not a problem. Remember, the bed being up is all about the patient trying to get out of bed. We've moved the floor. If you're in the room, the patient's not going to try to get out of bed, or if they do, you're right there. It's when you leave the room that you can't have that bed high. Does that make sense? So it's okay to, go put your linens away, clean your supplies and store them. You can do all that with the bed in the high position. We're not concerned about the patient rolling out of bed. That's not what this is. It's if they try to get out of bed, we need that floor right where they expect it to be. Okay, does that make sense? So good question, Latasha. Good question. Any other questions?
I don't know if I did this right because I got a
Okay.
receipt thing for my application.
Let me take a quick look.
So I got after it said submitted.
Yeah, and it says complete. This
Okay.
is right here. This is the box that we really want to pay attention to.
Okay, so I did.
You did it right.
Okay.
Now, when the Board of Nursing approves you for testing, you're going to get another one of these. It's going to look just like it, except down here it's going to say approved. And then about 2 or 3 days later, you'll get your testing via email. Okay. All right. Good job registering for the test. If you have not registered, you need to.
Oh, plus money. You gotta wait till the end of the week.
It does cost money. I know.
Yeah.
I know. All right. Any questions before we move on?
So let's say I haven't registered for the test yet, which I haven't. the longer I wait, the further the test is going to get pushed out.
Right. So from the time that you register until you're testing in Florida is generally 3 to 4 weeks.
In between those days. Okay.
Right.
That's not
So when you register for, let's say you register today, you will be testing in 3 to 4 weeks. Well, that puts us really close to Thanksgiving time.
Right.
And they're not going to be testing on Thanksgiving or the day after.
Right.
So that means that the people that would normally test on those days are going to get pushed back.
Okay.
And again, same thing for Christmas. They don't test on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Makes sense.
So when we get into the holiday season, like right now, the testing from registration until testing is actually a little bit longer. Figure 4 weeks.
Ish to get around
Yeah.
the holidays.
Right, because of the holidays.
Got it.
Okay. Now,
I didn't think, because I remember you saying, sorry to interrupt you, but I thought you said a couple weeks ago that if you wait too long, it could be like a 2-month, 3-month wait until you take the actual test.
it can, depending on how backed up they are.
Okay.
What complicates this, and that's where I was going with this, what complicates this is twice a year we have trade schools and community colleges that graduate. So December and June. So all of those trade schools and community colleges that have CNA programs, all of those people are applying to test during graduation. So we have a higher volume of people trying to test. So if you guys don't register soon, yeah, it could be a couple of months. Now we also have to take into effect here in Florida, the weather. We have another storm that's scheduled to hit sometime in Florida somewhere next week.
Really?
Well, of course, that's going to affect testing at those, those locations. So it's too far out. We don't know where it's going to hit. We don't really know anything at this point. But we have to understand that the weather is going to impact test availability as well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So all of those variables, we should be testing 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
But there's a lot of variables there that can delay it a little bit more. The problem with waiting is that life gets in the way. Okay. So let's say that you don't register for the test now, you're waiting on a paycheck or something like that. Well, Thanksgiving's coming up and you have to have money to cook a Thanksgiving meal. So you're going to put it off a little longer. And then Christmas is right around the corner. So you got to put your money toward Christmas. And that's going to delay you a little bit further. And then the new year comes around, you got to pay off all those credit cards, right? So all of those things can kind of conspire against you. And before you know it, it's April and you still haven't registered for the test because life got in the way. And you're likely to forget a lot of what I've said between now and April because you're not refreshing. So you know how I've given you those wrap-up emails?
Yes.
Those wrap-up emails, the links in them are always valid. So if you have not deleted those wrap-up emails, save them. So you can click on those links and be able to review before you go test. One of the things that's in each of those wrap-up emails is the link for your class, for this, this session. So you can watch class 1 that you guys were actually in, and class 2, and class 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, all the way to today. You'll get a link for this as well. So if you haven't deleted those emails, make sure you save them. But if you did delete them, just go to flcnatraining.com. And I have all of the replays up there, and those will stay up until the next class session starts in January.
Okay.
Good. So I have a lot of things to help you, remind you of what I've said and what is important during testing. You've also got all of those worksheets. So if you're missing some worksheets, you need to get them today so that you have them. And that makes a fantastic review package. So when you're waiting to test and you're sitting in your car, you can just flip through all of those worksheets and it'll help review everything that we've learned. All of the principles are on those review sheets. Okay. Good. All right, so today I want to talk a little bit about, not about the test. We're past that now. Not about what we had to learn. We're past that now. The learning is over. But we have to talk a little bit about the next step. What do we do once we get certified? What's required of us? How do we renew our certification? Am I ever going to have to take this test again? There's a lot of details here. So if you go to page 171, I've taken all of these notes for you. I'm going to show you a video for this. This video is on my main website, 4YourCNA.com. Up here you can see it's on my main website, 4YourCNA.com. And you can watch this video as often as you need to after graduation. But we're going to watch it together in here, and I took the notes for you. We're also going to talk a little bit after this about how to find a job in healthcare, because it is different than other industries. It's not the same. So we have to talk a little bit about that. How do we find jobs in healthcare? And then we're going to craft our tell me a little bit about yourself speech. Okay, and it's going to be individual for each one of you. But let's get into this video first. Let's get this out of the way. And again, all of your notes are on page 171.
How to renew your Florida CNA certification. A guide for Florida CNAs. Brought to you by 4YourCNA.com. After you pass your state exam, you'll receive your certification card in the mail.
Settings, audio. Why is this not? Okay. Well, the sound is going to come through my notebook over here. It's unfortunately it's not pushing it. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, we got to get rid of that.
How to renew your Florida CNA certification. A guide for Florida CNAs. Brought to you by 4YourCNA.com. After you pass.
All right, hold on.
How to renew your Florida CNA certification.
Okay, well, we're going to go through this manually then, because the video is just not, the sound isn't working. So I'll go through this manually. You won't have any of the on-screen graphics, sorry. All right, so let's talk a little bit about renewal. In order to renew in Florida, you don't have to retake the test. Once you take the test and you renew on time, you'll never have to test again. So test is one and done as long as you renew on time. Renewal is going to consist of two parts. Renewal is done all online. You're going to have to complete some continuing education hours, and you're going to have to work as a CNA at least once in the renewal period. Now, you don't have to send proof. You don't send anything anywhere, but you are going to check 2 boxes that swear that you have completed that continuing education and you have worked as a CNA at least once in that renewal period. When you check those 2 boxes, it's just like standing in front of a courtroom with your hand on the Bible and saying, I did this. They do audit a certain percentage of all CNAs every year. And if you're the one that gets audited and you can't prove that, they will take your certification and they will never give it back to you because that's an ethics problem. If you're lying on renewal, we can't trust you around patients. Make sense? Ethics problem. So the way that you do this, okay, you have to work at least once for pay as a CNA. So all you got to do is keep a pay stub. That's it. That's all you got to do. Just keep one pay stub. That shows that you have worked at least once as a CNA for pay and you're done. Continuing education is a little bit harder. Continuing education is for CNAs called in-services, and they can be obtained in a wide variety of places. Your employer is most likely to give you in-services. Now, this is a really, really good question during your interview. Do you offer in-services or continuing education for CNAs? In-services are usually done in the workplace as a monthly meeting. So once a month, they get all of the direct care staff together and they talk about something that's relevant to that setting. So like today, we might review how to use a gait belt properly because we've had a lot of falls lately. Or today, we might talk a little bit about diets because we've noticed that patients are not getting the right diet trays. You guys aren't paying close enough attention to this, and it's important. So we're going to talk about things that are relevant to your particular workplace setting, and they'll give you an in-service credit for that. Super easy. That's the easiest way to get in-services. But if your employer doesn't offer them, then you can get them online. That's the second easiest way to do it. And you just go into your favorite search engine and type in CNA continuing education or CNA in-services, and a whole bunch will show up. They usually have a flat fee, like $20 per year, unlimited in-services. You can get whatever you want. They're not hard. You just read a little bit of information or, do a little activity, answer some questions, and then you get a certificate that you print off and keep. That way, if the state board does ask you, hey, can you send proof? You've got it to send it. Okay, that's probably the easiest way. There are some mandatory topics that you have to complete every single renewal period. Things like domestic violence, communication with cognitively impaired individuals, bloodborne pathogens, medical error prevention and safety, CPR skills, documentation that's relevant to CNAs. We talked about that in class. Infection control practices. Those are the things, or resident rights. Those are the things that are required every renewal period for you guys to do. You'll see it at the bottom of the first column on page 171. Right here. Those are the required topics. Most in-service providers online will have a box and ask you to choose your state. And when you choose, they'll pull up all of the required topics for you. So the next question is, well, how many hours do I need?
It says 12.
Well, it's not quite that easy. So the technical way that they compute this is 1 hour for every month that you are certified. Okay, so 1 hour for every month that you are certified. The problem is your very first certification, you are joining a group already in progress. So in Florida, there's 2 groups of CNAs, two groups of CNAs. There's odd year group and even year group. And I have no idea which group you are going to end up in because it has nothing to do with when you certify. Has nothing to do with when you take your test. It has more to do with your social security number, actually. So you will be assigned one of these groups. Well, if you are in the even year group, that means that group doesn't renew until 2026.
So then you don't have to worry about it.
If you're in the odd year group, you're going to have to renew in 2025. Now, every CNA certification expires on May 31st. Half in odd years, half in even years. So if you are in the odd year group and you get certified in, let's just say December, then when May comes around, May 31st comes around, you're going to have to renew, and that's only 6 months. So you would need 1 hour for every month that you were certified. Well, if we were certified for 6 months, how many hours do we need? 6 hours. After that first certification, that first recertification, that first renewal, after that, you'll be on a 2-year cycle like everybody else, and it'll be 24 hours for every renewal. But your first one is going to be different. They don't expect you, who has only been certified for 6 months, to do 24 hours of continuing education like everybody else has to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So how do you know what your expiration date is? When you get certified, you're going to get in the mail a blue card from the state. I can show you what the blue card looks like here. I'm going to pull this video up real quick without sound. Okay. So when you get your blue card, this is telling you about your groups that I just talked about. When you get your blue card, this is what it looks like. You'll see your expiration date right here. It's going to have the date that you were certified, your CNA number that's issued by the state, and your expiration date. You want to pay attention to that expiration date so that you know which group you are assigned to and you know when your renewal is going to come up. Now, the nice thing is that they will send you a renewal reminder in the mail. Usually around February, they send you something that says, hey, your CNA is up for renewal. Don't forget. So that you have a couple of months to get all of your ducks in a row and make sure you meet the criteria for renewal. Be careful though. There are a lot of unscrupulous companies out there that will send you emails too and say, hey, your CNA is up for renewal. Give us money and we'll do it for you. And it doesn't, you don't need somebody to do this for you. This is super easy. You don't want to give somebody money that they don't need. And they may not follow through. And that could cost you your certification. So keep control of this yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as long as you work at least once for pay and you have a pay stub to show for it, and as long as you've done your continuing education, then at the bottom of this blue card, well, I don't have it up there now. At the bottom of the blue card is going to be instructions for renewal. It'll have the website that you go to. It has your login information right there on the blue card. And you just go to that website. You click on renew. You enter your information. You check the 2 boxes. Yes, I worked as a CNA for pay. Yes, I did my continuing education like I was supposed to. And then you're going to pay $55 to recertify. And now you're good for 2 years. So let's talk about some problems, though, that come up. Sometimes people will take a CNA class, get certified, but then they do something else with their life. And now it comes time for renewal and they didn't work as a CNA. What do?
You still have to be certified.
Well, you have to prove, or you have to have something to prove that you've worked as a CNA. So your best option here is to go to any home care company. Pick one. There's hundreds out there. Go to any home care company. Tell them that you need a visit to be able to recertify. And they will put you on they'll hire you. They'll put you on their PRN list. We're going to talk about PRN in a few minutes. They'll put you on a PRN list. They'll send you out to do a visit. And now you've got a pay stub that you can use to prove that you have worked at least one. No, notice there's no hours here required. It just says worked at least once for pay as a CNA. So a visit would work. Now, in exchange for that, because nobody does anything for free, right? They now have you on their list of people, employees, that they can call up when they have a case that they don't have enough staffing for. Okay, so they've added employees to their roster that they can contact, but you now have proof that you've worked as a CNA and can renew. So it's mutually beneficial. Good? Good. Okay, so to recertify, we have to do some in-services. We have some required topics we have to do. And ultimately, we need to get to 24 hours of in-service topics to renew after our first renewal. So if you look at these, there's not 24 hours there. There's usually only about 9 or 10 hours. So how are we going to fill up the rest of it? Well, those topics that you choose, if you're doing it online, should be topics that are relevant to your workplace. So if you're working with dementia patients, then you don't really want to take continuing education related to cancer. It wouldn't really benefit you in your workplace, right? But you can actually use your continuing education to help you, though. Let's say that you want to work in a mother-baby unit. You want to work with, pregnant women and brand new babies. Sounds good. But you have no experience in that. So in order to make yourself more attractive as a candidate, you can take some continuing education on mother-baby units. So things like swaddling babies or helping a female in a postpartum period, things to watch for. Those types of topics that are relevant to that new setting that you want to get into. That's going to be important when you go for an interview, because if you have no experience and you're interviewing for that position, you have nothing to really stand out. So if you can say, well, I've taken some continuing education topics in this field and I'm really excited about learning more. That makes you a little more proactive. It shows that you really are committed to this new field.
Initiative.
And yeah, it shows initiative. So you can use your continuing education to get into a new discipline, is what we call it, new area of healthcare. Or you can take topics that are relevant to where you currently work. Good. You want to be careful, though, and not do continuing education that is geared to nurses. So you want to try to keep your continuing education to the CNA level. Because if we're doing mother-baby continuing education that's geared to nurses, now we're doing APGAR scores and, respiratory distress, and things that CNAs aren't at all going to be involved in. Okay, so make sure that it's relevant to CNAs.
I have a question. We're put in a situation. If we take an exam and what if we fail? Can we retake or we go back to school?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So in order to become certified, you have to pass both sections, the written test and the skills. They're graded separately. So let's say that you passed the skills, but you failed the written. You would only have to retake the written.
At that moment?
No, you gotta wait 30 days to retake it, but you would only have to take the portion that you failed. And you do have to repay. So the registration that you did, to register for the test, when we looked at the exam options, I told you got the plain test, and then you got the one with audio, or you can take the written in Spanish. You guys remember me talking about that? Well, below that were some other options. Written only, that was $55. Skills only, that was $105. So if you fail a portion and you have to retake that portion, you're going to go online, you're going to register again, but you're going to check the box just for the portion that you need to take.
So if you failed in a skill and then you retake at the same skill.
No, you won't get the same. Usually, no, you don't get the same skills. No, they're going to pick. You may get one that's the same, but it's a different skill set that you get assigned. Good? Good. All right, so let me answer the other half of that question, though. You have 3 attempts in 2 years to pass both sections. So if you fail the written once and you retake it, and you fail it again, you've only got one more chance, and you retake it on that 3rd try. If you fail again, you have to go through a 120-hour CNA program. This is the expensive one with clinicals, usually given at trade schools or colleges. So, and they're usually like $900 to $1,200. They're expensive. So you really want to make sure that you pass, without having to go through that. Now that resets every 2 years. Every 2 years. So you have 3 attempts in 2 years to pass both sections. So if you don't want to pay for the school, just wait 2 years and you can try again. Good?
Yes.
Make sense? Okay, so do you understand how to calculate your in-service hours needed?
Yes.
Do you understand where to find your expiration date? Do you know how to get your in-services?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know which in-services are required for renewal? Good. Okay, so that's pretty much that video. All right. Oh, that's a good question, Latasha. Latasha says, does taking some online or some college courses count toward getting those hours? The answer to that is yes, no, and it depends. The best thing for you to do is to take in-services that are geared towards CNAs. That's the best way. It covers all bases for CNAs. But if you're going for nursing, if you're actively in a nursing program, that supersedes this. But if you're taking your prereqs, algebra, English, anatomy and physiology, nutrition, even though they're relevant, they don't take the place of the in-services. So if you're actively in the nursing program, then yes, prereqs won't count. So yes, no, and in between. Good? All right. So this video that I can't show you is on our main website, 4YourCNA.com. Under After Certification, you'll see CNA renewal instructions. You probably want to go back and watch that closer to your renewal time. Once you get your blue card and you see your expiration date, go back and watch that video, and it'll explain all of that. This is the blue card that I was talking to you about. Down here is going to be your information on how to renew. The website to go to, your login information, all of that is at the bottom of your blue card. The top of your blue card will have your expiration date. It has a little wallet card. This is how you will prove that you are certified But you are also on an electronic register. Every employer is required. They need to see this, yes. Don't give them your original. They can make a copy of it. You keep your original. They need to see this, yes, but they have to verify it online. So there's an online portal that you can go to and type in your name, and it will come up and tell us whether you're active or expired.
So on the written exam, what kind of questions do we see pop up?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so let's talk about the written exam. I have an ebook for this. You go to 4YourCNA.com/ebook. You can ask, request it. It'll get sent to your email. You download it and you read it. It's about 76 pages, but it's a small book. It's, the pages are only like this. It's short. You can go through it in 20 minutes. So there's 5 different types of topics that are going to be on the written exam. The test defines this a little bit differently than I do. So I'm going to tell you the easy way to remember. The first topic is going to be know your role. Now, we've concentrated on this a lot in our training. Know your role. So what does a CNA do? We follow the whole care plan and
Nothing but the care plan.
okay, that will help you answer about 25% of the questions on the test. Okay. Know your role. But you also have to know who to report to and what to report. So we're going to know our role, but we're also going to know our normals. So normals is not just vital signs. It's normal aging for the patient, normal behaviors, normal. What is normal? Because remember, half of our job is observation and reporting. Half of our job. So if that's half of our job, we have to know what's normal to be able to identify abnormal. And remember that that's the one thing that sets CNAs apart from other healthcare, direct care providers like home health aides, PCTs, that type of thing. We know abnormal. Now, your yellow book concentrated on this, but we did too in class. We talked about how skin gets thinner and drier and more likely to tear as we get older. We talked about the layer of fat underneath our skin getting resorbed and going away. We talked about heat, cold intolerance, and the fact that our patients are often going to be cold, so we want to keep them covered. We've talked a lot about how patients get a little weaker and need some assistance, so we're going to offer our strength. We talked about energy conservation. We've talked about the fact that the stomach gets smaller and bigger meals are usually earlier in the day. We talked about swallowing difficulties that may come up. We've covered all of this, and that's all under normals and abnormals, right? So know your role, know your normals. Then we have to talk about safety. Now, safety is in the details. Safety is always in the details. So everything that we learn on that back wall, that's all safety. Every principle has to do with safety. Good?
Yeah.
Safety. So if patients' feet hit the floor, we got to talk about their shoes. That's safety. If we get water, it should feel warm, not hot, not cold. That's safety. If we get water and we check it, who else checks it? That's safety. Patients should always be where in the bed? In the middle of the bed. That's safety. Are you starting to see how these principles are going to contribute to our safety awareness? Then we have infection control. Now that's the rest of the principles. So infection control is going to be like the first thing your gloves should touch is the patient. We have to know when to wear gloves. We can't just wear them routinely all the time. We have to talk about not shaking or snapping linens so that we don't aerosolize all of those particles. We don't want anything to touch the floor. Our uniform is not clean. That all falls under infection control. So you guys have learned a whole lot more than you are even aware that you've learned. And you're going to start to put these pieces together when you take the test. You're going to go, oh, that's why she said that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I know this answer. And it's all going to kind of click for you because the way that I presented it is very intuitive. Okay, so you just kind of absorbed it without having to work really hard. Now, the last thing that's going to be on the state exam is resident rights, patient rights. And this is where it's all about the patient comes in. This is going to be communication. Why are we talking to the patient? What should we tell them? How to encourage them to talk to us, recognizing signs of depression, that type of thing, maintaining privacy, all of those types of topics. So those are the 5 things that you're going to see on the written test. Okay, so know your role, know your normals, safety, patient rights, and infection control. So to give you an example of a question that you might see on the state exam, you're feeding a resident in the dining room and you notice that they're coughing mildly after each bite of food. You would, A, stop feeding the patient and notify the nurse immediately. B, continue feeding the patient, but make sure they're sitting upright. C, perform the Heimlich maneuver.
If they were choking.
Or D, do nothing because this is normal behavior in the elderly.
A.
A, why?
Because you
You're
observe the patient's coughing every bite, which to you is a normal, which you tell the nurse because it's not normal.
Right. Now, B could maybe have been the right answer if you had not taken this class. B was continue feeding the patient, but make sure they're sitting upright. That sounds pretty reasonable, but it's not. This is a change that needs to be reported because this patient has an aspiration risk now. Does that make sense? So everything that I've taught you is designed to help you answer these questions. They're not going to be straightforward. They're all scenario based because CNAs do. We don't plan, we don't really think, we do. So the questions have to be centered around what are you going to do when you see this. If we're walking a patient and they start to get pale and sweaty and a little woozy, what is your first action? A, hurry them back to the chair. B, leave them and go get a wheelchair. C, help them to the floor and get the nurse. Or D, call for another staff member. Yeah, you're going to help them to the floor and get the nurse. Absolutely. So 90% of the time, getting the nurse is the right answer. Unless it's an emergency. In an emergency, we can't leave our patients to go get the nurse. We have to know how to act. So in an emergency, CPR, choking, falls, seizures. In an emergency, we stay with the patient. We send somebody else to get to the nurse, get the nurse, but we ensure the patient's safety during an emergency. Or we start CPR, do the Heimlich maneuver, whatever our emergency processes are. So 90% of the time, get the nurse is the right answer, unless it's an emergency. Good. So if you have not already, you probably want to go to my YouTube channel, directly to my YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel, under the playlists, you'll see one that is the game show, practice test game show playlist. You're probably going to want to go through those questions because those are test-like questions. And I've been doing it for over a year, about a year and a half now, twice a month. So you'll see those questions, a lot of questions on there. I also finished all the questions on the online course. Finally, this has been a huge project for me, but every lesson now has 5 questions that are graded as part of the lesson. There are over 1,400 questions in that online program.
Wow. That's a lot.
So if you go through all of those questions, there is no way at all that you can fail the written part of the state exam. You just can't. Okay. A lot of questions for you. All right. Congratulations. Good morning, Miss Patricia. I took the clinical skills test yesterday, got my results just this morning, and I passed. Your videos helped me a lot. Thank you so much. Oh, congratulations to you. So you probably are not in Florida, because in Florida we get the results the same day. But congratulations to you. We're super proud. All right, so a question I get asked a lot is, what if I want to move out of state? And this is a pretty common question because we're a pretty mobile society. And in most cases, not all, but most cases, you can just contact the Board of Nursing where you want to go, tell them, hey, I'm a Florida CNA, and they say, cool, do our background check, pay us a fee, and we'll give you a certification in our state too. Now, it doesn't supersede Florida. It's in addition to Florida. So that means when renewal time comes around, you've got to renew 2, or you can let 1 lapse. That's fine. But there are some states that do not participate in this. This process is called reciprocity, meaning that they give you a certification based on the fact that you have one somewhere else. It's called reciprocity. Big word. But not all states do that. There are some states that say, hold up, not so fast. You have to take our test first. We want to make sure that you truly know what you're doing. And then there's some states that go, no, you got to start from the beginning. You got to take our training and our testing to be certified here. Now, you would want to know that before you move to that state. So you want to start this process at least minimum of 6 weeks before you move. More is better, but a minimum of 6 weeks. Okay, good. So Tennessee is one that does not or did not do reciprocity. I don't know if they, their stance on that now. And California is another one. In California, you have to go through their training and testing. But New York, wide open. You can contact New York, say, hey, I want to be a New York CNA. I'm a Florida CNA. And they go, cool. Do our background check, pay us a little fee, and we'll give you a certification here.
Nice.
But all of the contact information for your Board of Nursing is on page 172 and 173. So now let's talk about finding a job. This is going to be on page 174. This is a little bit different than other types of employment. Most of the time, if you want to find a job somewhere, you generally go to an online jobs board. Look to see what's out there. Snag a Job, Career Builder, Indeed, all those online jobs boards. Or you might walk into a place and like the big box store down the road, and they've got an employment kiosk, and you just sit down and you type in your information and apply. Healthcare is not quite that easy. For healthcare, they generally do not do on-site employment applications. You can't just walk into the hospital and sit down at a kiosk and type your stuff in. Generally speaking, in order to apply for a job in healthcare, you have to go online to do it in most settings. There are still a few nursing homes hanging around that do paper applications if you walk in, but they're very few and far between now. Almost everybody is online. But that brings a whole nother problem. So all of those online jobs boards that I just talked about, they all cost money. last year I was hiring for a position in my retail store. And I thought, okay, I'll put some postings on these online jobs boards and we'll get some applicants. Well, it was going to cost me more every week to advertise those jobs than I was willing to pay for the employee. So that didn't make any sense to me. I can't afford that. So instead, I just put a help wanted sign. I put a Facebook post out. Hey, does anybody want a job in retail? I used my network that I had already established to try to find some suitable candidates. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Those online jobs listings cost money. That's the biggest thing I want you to understand. They cost money. And they cost money across the board. So if I'm paying Snag a Job and I'm paying Indeed and I'm paying Career Builder and I'm paying, all of it's just unbelievably expensive. Now in healthcare, we have to understand that there is always a CNA opening in every setting. We are not fully staffed. We are never fully staffed, ever. We are over 1 million CNA short in this nation. So these facilities can't afford to keep advertising this over and over and over and over every single week. It's not financially feasible. So when you go online to all of these online jobs boards, you're not going to see all of the openings that exist for CNAs because it's too expensive. So what you need to do is a more focused approach. The first thing that you want to do is narrow down where you want to work. Now, most of us are going to say, yeah, I want to work in the hospital. But that's not always the best option for you. Not always the best option. Hospitals are very fast-paced. You guys are slow. And that's okay. You're brand new to the industry. You're supposed to be slow. But you put a slow person in a fast environment, and that's a recipe for disaster. The staff is going to resent you. You're going to hate your job. The patients aren't going to be happy, and you're probably going to end up leaving healthcare and think it's not for me. It's not healthcare that's not for you. It's that setting that's not for you. So if you jump into healthcare in the deep end, it may not work out the way that you expect it to. Not to say, I've had lots of students that went straight to the hospital and they did fine. It's not to say that you can't make it work. But you need to be aware of your own personality traits. So some of the things that you want to consider here is what kind of a shift do you want to work? Do you want to work 8 hours, which is traditional, or do you want to do 4 12-hour shifts and get it done, have a longer weekend every week? That's a possibility. Do you want to work weekends only? That's called a Baylor plan. And you work 1 8-hour shift on either Friday or Monday, and then you work doubles on Saturday and Sunday. And then you got your whole week free. Get all your hours in at one time. So you have to figure out what shift do you want. You also have to figure out, are you a day person? I am not. You try to get me somewhere to work at 6:45 in the morning, and I'm going to show up kicking and screaming. I am not a day person. But if you need a night shift, I'm your girl. I can stay up all night, no problem, right? So I got to figure out my own internal clock, what shift is going to be best for me. But then I have to think about things like, do I like doing the personal care part of CNA, or do I like doing more of the technical stuff like vital signs and catheters and things like that? Which am I more comfortable with? If I like the technical side, then the hospital might be a good fit for me. But if machines scare the bejesus out of me, all the beeping and I don't know what to do with it, and it's just like overwhelming, then don't go to work in a highly technical setting. Make sense? Am I the type of person that likes to form long-term relationships with my patients? I really want to get to know them really well. Well, nursing homes and assisted living facilities might be the place for me. So you have to look at a lot of different factors. You also have to look at pay. Pay is not standardized. There is no one hourly wage that we give to all CNAs no matter where they work. Pay will always be dependent on supply and demand, always. If we have a setting that everybody wants to work in, like the hospital, we don't have to pay much to get people to come to work because everybody wants to work. Too many Grey's Anatomy reruns out there, guys. Everybody wants to work in the hospital. They have got more applications than they can shake a stick at. They don't need to pay you top dollar to get you there. Now, in a setting where they don't have a lot of applications, lots of people don't apply, it's not really way up on the I want to work here list, they're going to pay a little bit more to get you in the door. Supply and demand. Good? It's also going to depend on the complexity of the patients that you're caring for. If your patients are pretty easy, they get up, they go to the bathroom, they feed themselves. You just have to remind them and do a little laundry, maybe make their beds. It's assisted living type of stuff. Then you're not going to get paid much. There's not a high level of complexity there. But if you're working in a rehab setting where your patients are all, full care, ventilators, IV drips, all kinds of stuff, it's a higher level of complexity. They're going to pay you more. You also have to think about your opportunity for advancement. If this is a place that pays for you to go on for additional training, like nursing school or ultrasound or something like that, they may not pay you as much because they're giving you other benefits. Good? Does that make sense? So there's a lot of factors here. A lot of factors. The good thing is I've helped you narrow it down. All you have to do is answer 19 questions and I will tell you where you belong. Okay. Good? And then I'll tell you why. So this is a really, really good resource for you to help narrow down where you should start your healthcare journey. It may not be where you end, but it's a good idea of where you should start. Okay, good. Now, this took me 2 years to create. This is extremely scientific. And then I went on to test it on hundreds of current healthcare workers. And it is scary accurate. It is scary accurate. So do yourself a favor. It's free. It takes less than 5 minutes of your time. Make sure that you do this. It's in your wrap-up emails. I've sent it to you a couple times. So once you know the right place for you, then we have to go out and find the job. Remember that online jobs boards are not your only option. But I want to talk about this one right here, USA Jobs, because this one gets missed a lot. USA Jobs is a free jobs board, and it's all government jobs. So the VA, working at the VA would be on there. Working for FEMA and disaster-related areas would be on there. Working for federal corrections facilities would be on there. And remember, these are government jobs, local, state, and federal government, so good insurance, good benefits. But there's a lot of job opportunities here that you may not have thought of yourself. So USA Jobs is a really good place to just kind of take a stroll through to see what's available beyond your typical what you see in your community. Okay. All right. Remember, each one of those jobs boards is going to take some money out of your employer's pocket. So it's not your only place to search. Sure, you can start there, but it's not the only place you should search. It's not going to give you a clear picture of everything that's available. If you decide to work at the hospital, the best option for you is to go directly to their website. So if we have ABC Hospital and we want to work at ABC Hospital, we would go to ABC's hospital's website, and on their website, they're going to have a tab somewhere that has jobs or careers. And if you click that, it's going to let you search. So you would type in CNA or PCT or, whatever term they use. And you're going to pull up all of the opportunities that they have. This is free for them. They own that website. And you'll see a lot more opportunities on their website than you will on jobs boards. Now, a word about this. If there are 3 CNA positions on this website, you have to apply to all 3. They don't share applications. If you are applying for Med-Surg Tele, that's the only place that application is going to go. It's not going to go to PCU or Neuro or any of the other departments. It will only go to that one department that you're applying to. So if you're not picky, if you just want to get into the hospital and you're not picky about the department, you have to apply to all of the positions listed. Good? They don't share applications. Now, it's important that you know what happens after you submit that application, though. It does not go to the hospital. You might be on the hospital's website. You might be applying for a position at that hospital, but that's not where that application goes. It goes to a third-party human resources company that is probably 3 states away from that hospital. And that human resources company, their job is to filter these applications and only push forward the ones that meet the criteria that was stated by that position. So if you want to get hired at a hospital and you go onto their website and you apply for a position, you have to make sure that your application matches that job description word for word. Because otherwise it's going to get caught up in the filters and not get forwarded where it needs to go. So if the job description says that you need BLS and you put on your application that you have CPR, that computer does not know that BLS is the same thing as CPR, and it will toss your application out. When you're applying at the hospital, you want to apply often, every week. Persistence pays off. Because chances are you're going to get caught up in filters and it's not going to go through the first couple times. Okay, good. Persistence pays to get into the hospitals. So if there's a particular place you want to work, go directly to that website and apply. I've got a resource to help you with this in our county. This is only for Hernando County. Those of you who are from other counties, this isn't going to help you a whole lot. But if you go to 4YourCNA.com, under after certification, the very first thing there is local employers. And when you click on it, I have listed all of the hospitals, all of the nursing homes, all of the assisted living facilities, all of the rehabs, home care agencies, and other medical employers in our area. And if you click on it, it takes you directly to their website, the hiring tab of their website. So this is one-stop shopping, guys. You just go onto this website and click through to all the places you want to apply.
So, do they usually hire CNAs in like a clinic, like a doctor's office, where you just work in the front and then
Anywhere a nurse works, a CNA can work. That doesn't mean that they need you.
Right.
Because remember, CNAs are mainly doing personal care skills on patients. So there's not a whole lot of that going on in clinics, but that doesn't mean you can't work as a tech, because you do know vital signs and you do help nurses. So you would want to find out what their education criteria is for that position.
What places would they have where you have to prep the patient as well? Is that still a clinic?
So
And like seat them and then, get their vitals, do all that. And
Yeah. So there's lots of CNAs that work in doctor's offices, walk-in clinics, pediatric clinics. So down the road here behind Friendly's Car Wash is a pediatric daycare. So this is for kids that can't go to normal daycares. Maybe they have a feeding tube, or they're on a vent, or they have a seizure disorder. They can't go to regular daycares, but mom and dad still have to work. So this is a medical daycare. It's staffed by nurses and CNAs and physical therapists and occupational therapists and speech therapists to provide therapy during the daycare, setting. And they hire CNAs. So there's lots of different places that you can work beyond the traditional hospital, nursing home, assisted living facility. And the best way to remember this is anywhere a nurse works, a CNA can work. Now, it's going to be up to the setting as to what their criteria is for employment, what they decide. So like here, if I'm hiring somebody to work in the scrub shop next door, I can decide what level of education I want for that person.
Right.
If I want them to have a master's degree in biology, I can declare that. That's part of my hiring criteria. It doesn't make any sense, I know, but it's part of my hiring criteria. So that would be in the job description. This is what I'm looking for. This is the qualifications I want you to have. Whether it makes sense to you or not doesn't matter. I'm the employer. I'm the one signing the paycheck, so I get to decide what I want.
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm going to get it, because nobody with a master's degree in biology is going to work for what I want to pay them in a retail store, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't have the right as the employer to define my criteria. So you would want to look at the job description pretty closely. Some other places that you might want to consider is mental health.
Yeah.
They hire CNAs. In fact, Springbrook right now has several openings. You'll see it under mental health technicians. You can also work in jails. That's another kind of strange place, but CNAs do work in jails. And strangely enough, I actually applied for a jail position about 20 years ago. Strangely enough, they don't come up very often. Positions in jails don't come up very often. What does that tell you?
That it's a secure job and no one's leaving.
Nobody's leaving.
Yeah.
That's right. If there aren't very many positions very often, it tells you that the people working there are pretty happy with their jobs. So because I own the scrub shop, I started asking some of them, because I come shop. I'm the only place in the county, right? I'm it. So they come in and they shop, and I ask, where do you work, when they check out? And I start asking them, so what's it like to work there? And they love it, because when you're in the hospital, you have no idea who the crazies are. They're there for a gallbladder. You have no idea they're schizophrenic. They're there for high blood pressure. You have no idea that they're suicidal. You don't know. It's a mixed bag. So when you're working in a clinical setting and they're there for something non-psychiatric, their psychiatric is secondary, and they may not have even told you about it. So you're walking in not really knowing what's happening. But in the jail, and you're alone in that room with those patients. But in a jail, you're never alone. You have a guard with you all the time. They're secure. You know all of their diagnoses. So it actually gives you a lot more information to work with, and you're always on your guard. So injuries, believe it or not, are a whole lot lower there than they are in a hospital setting. Crazy. Healthcare, healthcare puts us in some very vulnerable positions with patients that are not having their best days. So we do have to be aware of that as well.
I've heard when I was CNA before she became a registered nurse. She worked in a mental hospital, and I mentioned how when she was working there, they sat her in a room with a patient for like 8 hours straight, just watching. Just to stay there and just watch.
Yep. So and hospitals do that too. It's called a patient safety attendant. The other term for it is a sitter. So remember how I said we can't use restraints without a doctor's order? You guys remember how I said that? And I also told you restraints often cause more injuries than they prevent. So this is how we get away from restraints, is we put a staff member at the bedside and just say, watch them. They try to get up, let somebody know. So it's better to have eyes on the patient, physical eyes on the patient. But you guys are all eligible for those positions. It's a great way to get into, if you want to get into a hospital setting, it's a great way to get into the hospital as a, what they call unskilled worker, just a patient sitter. All you got to do is sit there. You can talk to the patient. But then you're kind of part of the workforce now. And you can go to your supervisor and say, hey, do you know I'm a CNA? Do you have any positions open? And it's a good way to kind of slide into those positions a little easier. Yeah, get your foot in the door. That's right. Good?
Yes.
So I have all of these, I've done all the research for you. I have all of these employers in our county listed here for you. All you have to do is click on the link to go. But, you know, go to every single one of those websites. That can take a long time. If you're not real sure where you want to work, this isn't the best solution for you. You really kind of have to narrow it down to figure out where you might want to work. Oh, another one that you might want to consider is a dialysis clinic. CNAs can work there too. Walk-in clinics. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Non-traditional settings. Schools. School clinics hire CNAs.
Private practices.
Private practices. Yeah, I've actually got a couple up on the back board
A school would hire a CNA?
to work in the clinic.
Thought they only had like one specific nurse.
No, and the people that we call school nurses are rarely nurses in Florida. Rarely nurses. Yeah, we call them school nurses, but rarely. So a shortcut to this, instead of going to every single one of those employers' websites, is go to Google. Google crawls all of those websites, and it's a great way to kind of get around those jobs boards. Just go to Google and type in CNA in your area, and it'll pull up a whole bunch. But this is probably one of the better ways to find a job opening is to go on social media. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Every healthcare organization has a social media team now. They have a social media presence. And they will advertise, hey, we still need 2 CNAs for the 3 to 11 shift. So look up their social media because they do recruit this way. You can also go to job fairs. You can network with friends and family. And that's probably the easiest way to find a job is to network with friends and family because most employers will offer a bonus. Let's say that you're working at a, walk-in clinic. And I, as the employer, go to you and say, hey, do you know anybody who's a CNA? We have another tech position open. We're not getting a whole lot of applications. Do you know somebody? If you can bring them in and we hire them, we'll give you a bonus and them one too. Now, the reason for that is because it cuts my time down. I don't have to wait so long to find an applicant. But number 2, probably more important, is that it creates a workforce that gets along with each other. The main reason that people leave healthcare is not because of the job. It's because of the people they have to work with. It's not the job they don't like. It's the people that they're working with. So if we can build a workforce that gets along because of referrals, it makes it a much more stable workforce. So it's worth it to the employers to offer bonuses to bring in. So you really should network with everybody in your circle. You all know somebody that works in healthcare. Everybody knows somebody that works in healthcare. So look at your circle and find out, where you work, is it hiring? It's a great way of finding a job. Your question?
The question I have is, I know you said earlier between a PCT and a CNA, like they're the same, this name different. But I know PCTs, or at least I think I do, who weren't CNA certified, but they were doing CNA things just
Right.
under. So is it because the hospital trained them, or?
So the term PCT, it has to be used because, okay, we can only use the term CNA if you're actually certified.
Right.
If you've taken the test. Now, there's only two places that you have to be a CNA to work: nursing homes and home care. That's it. So if you want to work at a doctor's office, we're not going to call you a CNA because you're not certified. We'll call you a medical assistant.
I see.
If you want to work in an assisted living facility, well, we can't call you a CNA because you're not certified. So we're going to call you a resident aide or a care aide or something like that. If you want to work in a hospital and you're not CNA certified, we're going to call you something else like a PCA or a PCT or a nurse tech. So all of those names are created by the industry. They're not state regulated at all. The only one that's state regulated is CNA. That's it. So if you are a CNA, you can still work as a PCT. You're going to do the same thing and you will be certified, but the rest of your crew may not be. And we don't really care because you don't have to be certified to work here. So we're going to call everybody a PCT, whether you're certified or not, just to keep it uniform.
Got it.
So a medical assistant isn't certified?
No, there is a national exam, a national certification that's optional that they can get, but no, it's not state regulated. No. Yeah, not state regulated.
Is the exam hard?
The CNA
No,
or the medical assistant,
Yeah.
hard is a relative term. For me, I take tests for fun. So for me, I mean, I got my real estate license just so I could sell my own house. And that's one of the harder exams to pass. I passed it with 100% on the first try. I take exams for fun. So if you're asking me, is the medical assistant exam hard? No, it's like eating candy. It's easy. But if you're asking somebody who has a lot of test anxiety and doesn't really do well with tests, it might be the hardest test you ever take. So that's a really relative term. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But a medical assistant, there's two different kinds. There's an administrative assistant and there's a clinical assistant. Administrative is going to do things like bill insurance, answer the phones, keep medical records, make appointments. They're front office people. So the exam is going to be all about those things. Clinical assistants are going to be the ones in the back of the office. They're going to be rooming patients, taking vital signs, assisting with procedures, doing EKGs, phlebotomy, those types of things. So that's going to be a little bit more of a technical exam. So it depends on which exam, and it depends on your level of knowledge in those areas. Good. But the thing about medical assistant is that they can hire you off the street and train you because it's not state regulated. There's nothing in the state statutes that says you have to have graduated from a medical assistant program to work in a doctor's office. They can hire their niece and let them work in a doctor's office and train them. It's perfectly okay because you're a medical assistant. You're there to help the medical team. You're not making decisions. Good? I know, a little scary, right? All right. So other places to find jobs. You can visit facilities in person. You can go to job fairs, community events, and you can look in trade magazines. There's a lot of different ways to find a job, but know that, you know, your online jobs boards aren't the only place that you should concentrate on. Okay. So once you have put your application in and you've gotten a date for an interview. Yay. Now we have to talk about that. When you're applying, make sure your job description and application match exactly. Apply to all positions listed and apply again if there's no response. Page 175 has some interview tips. Chapter 10 covered this. We're going to cover it briefly. Couple things about interviews. Number one, dress to impress. But this really can tangle you up a little bit, because what does that mean in medicine? There's also an old saying, dress for the job you intend to get. So if we're dressing for the job we intend to get, what do CNAs wear?
Well,
Scrubs. Scrubs are appropriate for entry-level healthcare interviews. You can wear scrubs to an interview. Not a problem. But your scrubs need to be neat, clean, pressed. If you don't know your way around an iron, take them to a dry cleaner. They should have creases. They should look good. Don't pull them out of the dryer, shake them off, and put them on like we do for class. Okay? So they should be solid in color, no prints. No prints. And darker colors are best. If you have visible tattoos, you should wear an undershirt under your scrubs until you find out what their tattoo policy is. Good? Okay. You can wear business professional. It's okay to do that as well, but there's kind of a problem there. If I am hiring for a clinical position, I need to be able to picture you in that position. So if you come in a nice dress, high heels, hoop earrings, hair all done, you might look great for a receptionist position, but I may have trouble seeing you as that clinical person that I need. So scrubs, perfectly okay to wear to an entry-level healthcare position. Now, that changes the higher up you go. So if I'm going to apply for like a non-clinical RN position where I'm in administration, I wouldn't be wearing scrubs, right? Because I'm dressing for the job I intend to get. Good?
yes.
Does that make sense? So yeah, you can wear scrubs. Shoes should be closed-toed shoes, and they should look pretty good. Don't take your running shoes out of the back of the closet that are covered in mud. Make sure they look good. Okay. All right. Arrive early. 10 to 15 minutes early is good. Tuesday early, not good. Don't get there hours or days ahead of time. But you should be there 10 to 15 minutes early. And the reason for that is this. Everybody knows that. You should be early to an interview. Everybody knows that. But this is the part you don't probably know. You are agreeing to spend 8 hours of every waking day in this place. You are going to be in this place more than you are home. If it is not a place you want to be, you are going to be miserable. So when you go for an interview, that 10 or 15 minutes that you're there, you are interviewing the facility as much as they're interviewing you. You should be looking around. How long are those call lights going off before somebody answers them? That tells you a lot about the staff. How are the staff talking to each other? Because if they're snarky with each other, when you're the new kid on the block,
That's not a good environment.
yeah, that's not going to work out well for you. How does a facility smell?
That's important.
That tells you a lot about the care that's provided. How do the residents look? Is their hair comb nice? Are their clothes presentable? Are they sitting up straight in their wheelchairs? If you are the type of person that provides very conscientious care and you take really good care of your patients, and you're working at a facility that doesn't, there's going to be a lot of conflict. So you are there to interview them just as much as they're there to interview you. Remember, you are agreeing to give up 8 hours of your time to be in this place. You got to make sure it's a place that you want to be in. Okay? Good?
Yes.
All right. You should be odor neutral. Amendment 3 did not pass, so that helps. You should be odor neutral. Odor neutral means no perfumes, no smoke, no beer scents from last night. You should be odor neutral, clean. You should smell clean. If you smoke or vape and you go in smelling like smoke or vape, they will not hire you. Period. They will not hire you. And that's because almost every facility is now a no smoking facility. You cannot smoke on the grounds, which means if you smoke, you have to go off of grounds on your break. So that 15-minute break that you were going to take to smoke your cigarette has now turned into a 30-minute break. And you think your staff members are going to be okay with you taking 2 30-minute breaks plus lunch? No.
You do 15-minute breaks?
Yeah, ideally. So if you smoke or vape, make sure that you do not do so before your interview. And they do know what Febreze smells like, guys. That does not work. Okay. Smile. You got to look like you want to be at the interview. I interviewed this one girl who was interviewing for a job at the store, and she looked absolutely miserable. She did not want to be here. She was looking at the floor the whole time, slouched down in the seat, looked everywhere but on me. I mean, everywhere but me. She just did not want to be at this interview. I'm not real sure why she came. I have no idea. But did I hire her? Oh, no. No. Because I want somebody that's going to greet my patient or my clients nicely. I want somebody that's going to smile and be pleasant and cooperative, right? So if you don't look like you want to be at the interview, they're going to help you with that. They'll make it easy for you. Absolutely. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is making eye contact. Remember, half of our job is observation. If you can't make eye contact during the interview, you are certainly not going to be able to make eye contact with an irate doctor that's screaming at the bedside. Healthcare is stressful, guys. It is stressful, right? We got doctors with complexes. We've got nurses that are overworked. You've got family members that are stressed out, and you've got patients that are scared to death. This is not Disney World. This is not an easy working environment. Interviews are stressful, yes, they are. But so is the work environment. So if you can't perform in an interview, you certainly aren't going to be able to perform in a work environment. Good? Set expectations here. Okay. Shake hands firmly. I can't believe I got to tell you guys this, but shaking hands at the beginning of an interview is very important. And to shake hands, we don't do this. You are not the Queen of England. Nobody's going to kiss your ring. Hand out, thumb up, grasp the hand, once up, once down, and then withdraw. That is how you shake hands. But you never shake hands from a sitting position.
Stand up.
You have to stand up. This is a power dynamic. And if you don't know anything about nonverbal cues and power dynamics, you don't want to shake hands from a sitting position because you have now just given all of the leverage and power to the person who is standing. You're about to negotiate for a job and money. You don't want to give away that power. Stand up and show pride in yourself. Good? Super important. All right. Answer questions thoroughly. Be brief, but be thorough. Answer them thoroughly. We're going to talk about questions in a minute. You do want to ask some questions at the end of the interview. I'm going to give you some questions in just a minute that you can ask. And leave pets, family, friends, leave them all at home. Don't take them with you. Do not take anybody with you that does not need to be at the interview. And I'll give you 2 stories about this. So one story was a girl who was interviewing at a nursing home for a position. And before, about a half hour, 20 minutes before the interview was supposed to happen, this old lady comes in on a walker into the facility, and she sits down on the couch, and the receptionist just thought maybe she was there to visit somebody or whatever. Didn't really pay any attention. This old lady sitting on the couch. And a few minutes later, the interviewee comes in. And she checks in at the reception and she sits down and the DON, Director of Nurses, comes out to the waiting room to get her, the reception area to get her, takes her back in the office. They're having a conversation. They're doing the interview. Everything is fine. And the DON said, can you tell me a little bit about the positions you've held before and what you've done and your experience level? And the interviewee says, absolutely, 1 second, I'll be right back, and jumps up out of the chair. Now, the DON is thinking, okay, she's probably nervous, had to go to the bathroom, she's, whatever. She comes back in with the old woman and says, I've been taking care of her for the last 4 years, and she's going to tell you what a great job I do.
Oh my God, really?
Brought her reference with her to the interview. Now, the DON is like, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, I mean, just talk about totally inappropriate. So she had to shut that interview down pretty quick and get these people out, and she did not get the job because that's inappropriate. Now, the second one actually happened to me. I was working over in another city, big city, and I was working at an old hospital that was being renovated. And the shifts or the floor supervisor was off on maternity leave, and I was doing the scheduling and things like that. Well, we had a nurse come in for an interview, so she told me just do a preliminary interview because I can't make it in. Okay, no problem. So we've got a list of questions that we asked. It's not a big deal. So I went through the questions, did the preliminary interview, and the interview was going well. It was an older lady. She had been in nursing for like 40 years. I mean, everything was fine, the interview. But as we're in this little teeny tiny office, I mean, it was smaller than our bathroom. It's tiny office. And I'm hearing a scuffling sound. Now, all I can think of is, there's construction going on the other side of my wall, where they're retrofitting the floor. And all I can think of is, oh my gosh, there's a mouse in the office. And it's going to freak out this woman. So I suggest that we take a tour of the unit. So I got her out of the office. We go take a tour of the unit. I introduce her to a few people, and we end up in the break room. Because I'm not going back to that office. There is definitely a mouse in there. And we sit down at the table in the break room, and I'm hearing that scuffling sound again.
It's hot.
And I'm like, what is that? And she says, what's what? And I said, I'm hearing a sound, a scuffling sound. I don't know what it is. And she says, oh, that's probably just Precious. Precious. What's a Precious? She says, oh, it's my little teacup something. I don't know. Little thing.
Yeah.
Now, I've got little dogs, but this, I don't know. Anyway, she had it in her purse, which was some sort of a dog carrier thing. And I said, oh, you brought a dog with you on your interview. And she totally missed the sarcasm there. She says, oh, yes, Precious has to go with me everywhere. She has separation anxiety. I said, and what is Precious going to do while you're working? Oh, she'll just stay in the break room. She's very quiet. She doesn't.
Oh, no way.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. No, we won't. Do not bring pets with you to an interview. It will not go well.
Registered nurse or-
Yes.
Oh, wow. I did not-
Inappropriate. Yeah, I didn't even know what to do with that one. Like, what? We don't do that. No. So I don't know why I have to say that out loud, but don't bring people or pets with you. Another one that I was told about recently in our community by a hiring. Guys, remember, I'm the only scrub shop. All of the people that are going to hire you shop with me. They all know that I've been doing that. In fact, most of them have started out right here. Most of the people that are going to hire you started out in these chairs. I've been doing this for almost 18 years now. I've got many, many RNs out there. I have, I think at last count, it was 7 nurse practitioners. And I got one that went on to get her doctorate in nursing. So yeah, the people that are going to hire you, they know me. And they've sat right here. Well, we had one that brought, she told me that she was interviewing a young girl, a young CNA. She brought her parents in with her to the interview.
Oh, no.
Don't do that either.
Oh,
Mm-mm. Nope. You also want to send a thank you note. We're going to get into that in just a minute. So a couple points: dress to impress. We're going to make a packet. This is in your book on page here on page 174. Make a packet. You need to make a packet. The person that brings a packet to the interview is the one that gets the job. It's that simple. You can't be hired if you're not remembered. And you're not the only person being interviewed today. You're not. And you don't have a whole lot to make you stand out. You're kind of interchangeable. You have no experience yet. And yeah, you might make a positive impression with your personality, but after 2 or 3 other people, they're going to forget you. So this is how you get hired, because when you go in and you shake their hand and you give them a packet, that's going to go on the corner of their desk. They're not going to pay any attention to it because they have you in front of them. They're going to have a conversation with you. You're going to leave. Other people are going to come in, and at the end of the day, they're going to clean off their desk, and they're going to come up against your packet. And they're going to go, oh, Dylan, I remember Dylan. Oh, yeah, I remember this guy. It's a way for you to be remembered after you leave the interview. You can't be hired if you aren't remembered. Now, it's also things that they need for your employee record, your employee file. They need a resume in most cases. So if you don't have a resume, go to CareerSource. They'll help you build one for free. You need your certificate of completion that you'll get from here today. You need a copy of your blue card. Remember, I said they need a copy. You also need your CPR card if you have it, because most places require CPR. And then any additional certifications. Do you guys remember I was talking about continuing education earlier? And I said that you can use that to get a job in a new setting. Well, you would want to put those continuing education certificates in this packet as well to show that you're motivated and ready for this new setting. If you're going to work in home care, also put a copy of your driver's license and insurance card in there as well. When you make this packet and you shake their hand and you give them the packet, it's a way for them to quickly hire you. Because if I decide I want to hire you, I can pick up the phone and I can say, hey, Antea, I would like to hire you, but this is what I need from you, right? I need all of these things. Get them together, get them to human resources. They'll get them checked in. They'll let me know, and I can call you for orientation. Or I can say, Dylan, you want to start Monday. Which one would I do?
Start Monday.
The easy one. The easy one. So make the packet. Okay. Again, this comes direct from our hiring managers in our community. They told me to tell you to make this. You're getting insider information. So if you want that job, make the packet. Make a good impression, of course. Stand up straight. Be polite. This is the time to dust off your yes ma'ams and yes sirs. Always make sure that you thank the interviewer for the interview. They just took their time out to consider you. So make sure you thank them for the interview. That thank you goes a long way. It goes a whole lot further than you think it does. Thank them for the interview. This right here really trips us up. You need to be prepared to tell them why you are a good choice for that position. If you can't tell them why you're a good choice, how are they supposed to know? How are they supposed to pick you? Now, we all struggle with this, right? We don't like to pat ourselves on the back. We don't like to tell anybody how great we are at anything. We really struggle with this. And what do you even say here? What do you even say? So I'm going to help you with this. So this is the hardest question in an interview. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And we all struggle with this. This is when we get deer in the headlight look, right?
No.
tell me a
No.
little bit about
I'm a
yourself.
hard worker. I'm always on time.
Okay.
I complete all my tasks. If I have a question, I'm gonna ask it. I mean, that's, if I need help, I'm gonna ask for it.
Okay.
Next.
So that's a good start. That's a good start.
I just gave you this one.
So I just passed out Class 8
Contact.
review sheet. I want you to turn it over. This is the formula to create, tell me a little bit about yourself. There's an actual formula that we can use here. And there's a couple things that you need to know to be able to use this formula. The first thing is, what are some of your past jobs? So what have you ever worked at?
I worked at Panera and
Okay.
Crumbs.
Okay, so food service. Okay, you actually have some very marketable skills. So tell me a little bit about yourself would be something like, I come from a food service background where I excelled at anticipating needs, attention to detail, and diffusing difficult situations. And I took a CNA class because I really wanted a career that had better growth opportunities. And I'm really excited to get started on my career in healthcare. And I think I would be a good fit because I am punctual, I am committed to excellence, and I'm a very ethical and honest person. That is your tell me a little bit about yourself. So in order for us to craft this, we have to know where we're coming from. So what are some of our past jobs? And then we have to look at 3 soft skills that we learned in those positions. So you can see on the back of that form under 1, you can see I've got some of those listed for you. These are soft skills. So active listening, attention to detail, anticipating needs. Now servers, if you're a server, you anticipate needs. What that means is you're paying attention to the table to watch when that water glass gets halfway so you can refill it. You're watching when they're done with the appetizer so you can bring out the main course. You watch to see when they're wrapping up the meal so you can ask if they want dessert, right? These are all anticipating needs. Communication, that's a big one. Conflict management, also a big one. So we've got a lot of what we call soft skills here. Not all of you have the same soft skills. Me, this one, not me. I am not punctual. I'm not. I roll in here like 3 minutes before we go live, right? So would I claim punctuality? No. But I have insane attention to detail. Good? So you guys are not all going to have the same 3 soft skills. You got to find the 3 that work for you. Then once you do that, once you identify your 3 soft skills, then you got to figure out, why are you here? Why did you take a CNA class? Why are you here? It wasn't for fun. I mean, I hope you had some while you were here, but that's not what brought you here. You're here for a reason. Is it because you always wanted to work in healthcare and this is step 1? Is it because you're looking for something with an opportunity for advancement? Is it because you plan on becoming a nurse and you wanted to start at the CNA level? Is it because your mom told you that you would make a good caregiver? I mean, why are you here? You've got to figure that part out, because that is how you're going to sell yourself to your employer. Once you have that down, then you can tell them why they should hire you. Out of all the people that you're going to interview, why should you hire me? Well, I'm flexible, I'm adaptable, I'm ethical, I'm passionate about the care I provide. I mean, why should they choose you?
I can work holidays.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. So once you have all of those answered, You know where you came from. You know what skills you possess. You know why you want to be in healthcare. And you know the personality traits you possess that would make you an asset to healthcare. You put all of that together to create your tell me a little bit about yourself speech. Now, if you do this, it takes maybe 3 minutes to craft this. It'll take you 5 minutes to memorize it. But if you do this, this will put you head and shoulders above every other person that's interviewing. Because everybody else is going, I grew up in Virginia. We don't care. That's not relevant here. You got to be able to sell yourself. Okay. Good?
Yeah.
Now, this works for every industry, every single industry. Doesn't matter whether you're applying for healthcare or as a forklift operator, you should have a tell me a little bit about yourself speech that is streamlined and specific to that setting. Okay. Good? You should send a thank you note. This goes right back to we can't hire you if we don't remember you. So send a thank you note. Thank you note should be very short and sweet. I always send a thank you note after an interview. It's part of the interview process. This should be out in your car already written out. The only thing you should have to write in there is the name of the person you interviewed with. But dear, leave it blank. Thank you for the opportunity to interview with you today. I enjoyed our conversation. I look forward to hearing your decision. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Sincerely, my name. I should have it already written out. The envelope should be right there with a stamp on it. And when I go into the interview and come back out, I write in the name of the person I interviewed with. I put it in the envelope and take it directly to the post office. Drop it in the box. If I do that, it shows up there tomorrow. You can't be hired if you're not remembered. Don't send an email.
It's impersonal.
I have 1,500 emails in my inbox right now. I'm not kidding. I can pull it up and show you. I have 1,500 emails. You think I'm going to go through every one of those? Not a chance. Not a chance. Don't send an email. Send a note. This is personal. I'll open up a note. If you send me a card in the mail, I am opening it. Absolutely. It makes a difference. Good?
Yes.
All right, so sometimes you will be offered a PRN position. PRN means as needed. It is not on call. There's a difference. In order to fire you, we have to go through a lot of steps. We have to go through a lot of steps. We have to do verbal warnings. We have to do written warnings. We have to do a plan of improvement. We have to do evaluation. I mean, we got to do so many things in order to get rid of you. And in the meantime, you're messing with my patients. And I'm the one legally liable for that. So in healthcare, your first position will usually be a PRN position. And think of this as an extended interview. Paid, of course. But we're going to let you work here. And if we don't like you, we're not going to put you on the schedule. No, we didn't fire you. Absolutely not. You're still on our roster. We just don't need you right now.
Oh. Very nice.
PRN positions always come with more pay. That's good. No benefits. That might be bad if you need benefits. So you have to evaluate this. But chances are you're not going to get a full-time position right out of the gate. They don't know you. And they're not going to commit to you when they don't know you. Good? Even though we are a right-to-work state, it's still really hard to fire people. There's a lot of processes we have to do. All right. So we're done with you now, but you still have a lot of learning opportunities here. You have our skills videos on our main website. You have the online course. You have the replays of the live stream. You have the worksheets. And you have this room available for practice as well. So we do have a lot of other learning opportunities for you just because you're done with class. I don't want you to leave here thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared. If you feel like you're not prepared, you need to see me before you go so we can put a plan in place. I'm committed to your success. Okay? Good?
Yes.
At the top of your syllabus is my personal email. You always have access to me. It may take me a while to get back to you, but you do have access to me. So if you have a question, send it to me. You can also get in touch with me on my Facebook page. Leave me a comment there. Let me know that you passed the test. We like to celebrate wins. And we've celebrated a lot of wins in this class. People that have come on our live and let us know that they passed. And that helps you guys. It boosts your confidence. So now you are going to be in a position to boost somebody else's. So make sure you let us know. Okay? Good?
Yes.
All right. Any final thoughts?
No.
Any questions? We do have a practice test for you. You were asking earlier, what type of questions will we see on the written exam? Page 191 is a practice test. It is a full 60-question practice test, very similar to what you're going to see on the state exam. If you take this test and you miss 5 or fewer, you are absolutely ready for the test. If you miss more than 5, you need to contact me, and we got to figure out why. Okay? I have never had a student that missed 5 or fewer on this test go on to fail the written exam. Good? Questions? All right. You guys have this room to practice on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 1 until 4, like we've talked about. But if you can't come in here and practice, you might want to consider getting a practice kit. It has everything you need to practice at home. It has the gate belt, the drainage bag, the triangular graduate container, the emesis basin, the toothettes, the toothbrush, the denture cup, everything you need to practice. And through today, it's only $47.99. After today, it goes up to, I think it's $69.99 on my website. So we do give you guys a really good, basically I give this to you for cost. We also have the flashcards. We have the card game. We have the online course. We have lots and lots of resources for you. And I'm going to be doing the practice test game show next Tuesday at 11 a.m. on my YouTube channel. So you might want to tune in for that as well. All right. So we're going to go ahead and return the yellow book now. You're going to put it here on my desk, not quite yet. You're going to put it here on my table, and we're going to go outside and we're going to take a class photo. But before we do that, I'm going to sign off of online because they're done. So those of you that have joined us for this online session, we truly appreciate it. The next one will start January 6th. Feel free to tune in. I have the game show next Tuesday as well. Everything's going to change a little bit over the holidays, and I won't be streaming live in the classroom from the holidays. But we do have the new skills videos coming up after the first of the year, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Congratulations to everybody that has passed and everybody that has graduated. So congratulations. Until next time, happy caregiving. Bye.